Hi. Did you know that in the United States, 1 in 5 Americans experience a mental illness in any given year? That's over 40 million Americans. The Anxiety and Depression Association of America determined that about 30% college students report having stress and anxiety negatively impact their academic performance. More shocking, the National Alliance on Mental Illness reports only 41% of those people with mental illness ever receive treatment for their condition. That's crazy. When we feel sick, we're comfortable to go to our family doctor. I think we should also feel comfortable seeing a mental health professional if we ever needed one. My name is Michelle Rivera, and if you didn't know by now, I want to be a mental health counselor. I sat down with Rhonda Davis, who has been my own personal counselor for over a year now, to talk more about the mental health counseling field and how is it that we can benefit from it. Because I'm interested in being a mental health counselor, naturally, my first questions were about job outlook. What I found out is that in North Carolina, to become a mental health counselor, students are required to complete a graduate degree, complete supervised experience, and receive a passing score in one of 4 possible licenses. The Bureau of Labor Statistics has predicted a 23% growth in the field since 2017, and opportunities of employment for mental health counselors are ample, ranging from outpatient counseling services to local government opportunities to public or private schools or colleges, and the expected salary varies as well. A prospective mental health counselor can expect their starting salary to be anywhere near $43,000 to $53,000, depending on their level of education, specialization, location, licensing, and type of counseling provided. Speaking to Mrs. Davis, I found out that it took her about 4 weeks from obtaining her license to secure her first job as a counselor. Although she's moved on to her private practice now, she will forever cherish that first job as a counselor. Once I had all the statistics information, it was time to find out more about the field. Counseling has made a very big impact in my life, and that's what attracted me to this field, even though I started going to school to be a chemical engineer. When I found out that, just like me, Mrs. Davis started out going to school for something else, and it was actually during the work hours of her work-study program that she became interested in the field. The day in the life of a counselor is pretty busy. She says she typically sees about 5 to 6 patients every day, and patients are typically her favorite part of the day. There's also a lot of paperwork involved with being a mental health counselor. And Mrs. Davis says she's required to fill out a progress report for each patient she sees. A progress report will establish the diagnosis, treatment protocol, and all the documentation of how she addressed crisis with each patient. Paperwork, she says, is what she dislikes the most at her job. Mrs. Davis finds progress very rewarding, and she is delighted when she sees a patient making big progress, changes for the better, becoming the best person they can. On the other hand, she's challenged by the patients that are being forced to seek therapy, whether it is by the court or a loved one, because she says this is the type of patient that doesn't really want to help themselves. She is going to therapy, or they are going to therapy to satisfy somebody else's need, not necessarily because they want to be there. For prospective counselors, she recommends, out of all things, self-care. She says there will be really good days where all your patients are making progress and you feel great about yourself. But there will also be days where your patients are having a lot of setbacks, and both of those days are going to come, and there's nothing you can do to stop that. Psychotherapy is a process, and like everything, it'll take time and effort on both parts for a patient to make good progress. She recommends self-care because if you don't take care of yourself first, you're going to get burnt out, like in everything. There is a negative stigma associated with mental illness, which makes it harder for people to seek for help when they need it, even though research has found that poor mental health can negatively impact your outcome in life. Most shockingly, it can reduce your life expectancy by 10 to 20 years. A recent study by King's College in London determined a link between mental illness and cardiovascular disease, and what they found was that people with illnesses like schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, and major depression were at a 53% higher risk for cardiovascular disease than those people that didn't have mental illness. Now that we know about how common mental illness is and how it can affect our daily life, I have an easy breathing technique to help you calm down before an important exam or presentation like this one. It's called the square breathing method. What you do is you find yourself a nice comfortable spot where you can focus on your breathing and being quiet for a few minutes. You're gonna exhale all the air out of your lungs and count to 4. You're going to inhale, hold your breath, and exhale and count to 4. Really focusing on your breathing in each step. This will help your brain calm down, your blood flow calm down, and it'll increase blood flow so that you'll feel calmer afterwards. Finally, if you didn't know, there are counselors available to you through UNCG. Check them out. They could be really useful. Thank you for listening.